This is Allen Irby, Chief Deputy with the West Carroll Sheriff's Office. Today's date is February the 9th, 2023. The time is 18:45 hours. The place is West Carroll Parish CID. I'll be taking a statement this afternoon from Tony Jones. Tony's a white male, gives his date of birth is 4/28/78, and resides at a residence located at 1438 Highway 2 in Oak Grove. I'll be taking the statement from Tony in reference to a self-inflicted gunshot wound of his wife, Miss Crystal McCory Jones. Her date of birth is 5/17/79. Tony and Crystal were married for 5 years and lived together at 1438 Highway 2 in Oak Grove. Tony, would you state your name and date of birth for the recording, please?
Tony Joe Jones, 4/28/1978.
Tony, we responded to your residence this afternoon, the West Carroll Sheriff's Office investigators and deputies, in reference to your wife, Miss Crystal, and a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Could you walk me through your and her activities of today, starting from when you left your residence this morning?
I left the residence shortly after 8 o'clock. I went to Bastrop to a customer's house, Darren Billings in Bastrop. Worked on stuff for him, and I left there, and it was shortly before 10 o'clock or so. I called Crystal at 10:06, and she answered the phone, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And I stayed on the phone with her for 15 or 20 minutes, I say. And I had another job to do in Forest High School, so I went into town. I put a check in the bank. I turned around, and then I went to eat at Bakery Barn. I left there and went to Forest High School, and I was there till just shy of 3 o'clock. I got my daughter checked her out from school, since I was already there at like 2:45, and I drove and I sent her a message saying, "Hey, I got little girl," and she didn't respond, what she normally does. Then I drove into town, and me and my daughter got something to eat at Sonic, and I tried to call her again, and she didn't answer. So then I contacted the East Carroll Medical Clinic, because she had an appointment at 2:30, and I said, and this was like 3:45 or something, and I asked them, I said, "My wife was supposed to have an appointment. Is she still there?" And I gave them her name, and she's like, "Well, she never checked in." And so then I tried to call a couple more times, and I was real worried at that point. So I called Deputy Harris, who was my neighbor, and he said he was almost home, that he would go check. So he got there, and he said that no one was answering the door. Her vehicle was there. I was like, "Well, please go inside. The door is unlocked." He went inside, was calling her name. I said, "The bedroom's in the very back of the house." And her name's Crystal. And so he's calling Crystal, Crystal, Crystal. And
were you still on the phone?
I was still on the phone with him. And he opened the door, and he said, "Crystal, Crystal." And then at that point, he said, "Tony, I'm sorry to tell you that she is deceased." And so then I rushed home.
Where were you at that time?
I was at the bowling alley, or at our karate school.
Okay.
I was at the karate school, and because we had class tonight, and so I was there waiting for her to get there, and she wasn't there by 4 o'clock. Then that's when I really started panicking, because she had been dealing with some depression, and like I said, that's what she was going to the doctor for.
That was her
appointment to go for the depression. She was on Abilify, and Amy Hale took her off of it, which is her doctor, and so now. And she was trying to come on. She said, "I don't feel well," and I told her to call this morning. She set the appointment this morning, and so
So she made the appointment for 2:30 this morning. Okay. When you talked to her on the phone at 10, how did she sound?
It took her a couple rings to actually get it, and I was like, she's like, hey, and I was like, hey. I said, what you doing? She's like, I was in the living room, and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, sounded like you were asleep, and she's like, no, I wasn't asleep. I was just in the living room. So, and I talked to her. We sat on the phone for a few minutes, and she really wasn't saying anything because I talk to her while I drive a lot, and I talk to her while she's driving, and I was like, all right, well, I said, I'm gonna get off here. You can get back to what you were doing. And she's like, okay, and I was like, I love you, and she said, I love you, and that's the last time I talked to her.
What handguns were available to her in the bedroom?
I don't know if in her purse there was a 9mm. I don't know if that's the one she used, but there was also a 45 on the nightstand. And that's the gun case was locked because I lost the key. So it was either the 9mm or the 45 was available.
It was, I think, a ECS.
Yeah, it's the one, that was
Small,
the one she had. Yeah.
frame. So that gun belonged to her.
Yes. Well, it was in my name, but that was the one she carried for protection.
Okay. And I talked to Deputy Crimes, called while we were working the scene, and he told me that he had talked to you there at the karate school this afternoon. Did you see him at the high school?
Yeah, I was at the high school when I talked to him.
Okay. What do you do for a living?
I'm a maintenance handyman. AC repair, pretty much anything.
Okay.
I do a lot of work. I do all that, all the air conditioning and refrigeration for the school system.
Okay. Was Crystal right or left-handed?
She was right-handed.
Okay. All right. I believe that is all the information that I'm going to require from you, Tony. Is there anything that you would like to add or take away from the statement you've given me this evening?
I don't believe so.
Okay. In that case, we'll end this statement. The time now is 18:52 hours.
She battled depression all her life.